This, you might get this kind of service at the dealership, but I have never been to a private sale where the seller goes, yeah, let me push that onto your trailer for you. Rolling out, headed towards Memphis, trailer in the back, and I'm full of trepidation because I've had a lot of problems lately. I don't want to say problems because this is a really good truck, but lately I've had to do a lot of repairs, just delayed maintenance, brakes, tires, and I'm riding up there without a spare even. My spare blew out on me, so I had to finally had to replace another tire. But yeah, trepidation, that's all I can say. That's probably the best word. It's that anxiety. It's the same kind of anxiety I have every time I leave on a big trip, going across the country. Especially if I'm planning on being out for a while, it seems like it's a lot more anxiety-inducing to think, man, if I got all my stuff, what am I leaving? Is all my stuff gonna be okay? Is anything gonna break before I get out of Alabama or halfway in between here and there? It's always the same thing. It's always starting that journey is always it just makes you nervous. And I would say probably half of it is wondering what I forgot, wondering what I've left undone, wondering what the result is going to be. But it's kind of, it always seems to work out. So except this last trip didn't work out that well. And and it was just a failure of prep, failure of attention to detail, failure to remember that my temporary storage should have been taken care of. I'm talking about my leg, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Probably going to live stream when I get too close to Memphis. I may start live streaming here in a minute, just for giggles. This, you might get this kind of service at the dealership, but I have never been to a private sale where the seller goes, yeah, let me push that onto your trailer for you. He didn't even ask. He's like, hey, let's go with it. I think he's trying to get rid of me. It's like, man, this guy was a pain in the ass a year ago. It's a pain in the ass now. The sooner I get rid of this son of a bitch.
And of course, at this point, I helped Richard push it up because after all, we're both cripples. And after we got it loaded up, we went back inside and I shot a few minutes with him on video, so hopefully you'll see that soon. Well, as you can see, I made it back home last night. It was late. It was after 9. But I'm going to unload this motorcycle and push it over there and see if I can figure out what I need to do next to make this thing fit my big crippled ass. It's really hard for me to explain the things that you take for granted. When you have 2 legs, you don't have any disability, but when you're missing part of your leg, you have to take things really slow. Balance is not good. Your ability to move like a dancer is no longer there. Put your motorcycle in first gear and use the clutch to back it down since you don't have access to the rear brake. Anytime you don't have access to the rear brake and you got to use 2 feet, most of the time it works really well. Going down the hill, if you're sliding down the hill and you need both legs to keep the bike upright, you use the rear brake clutch braking technique that I'm about to demonstrate. Hopefully, wash my hands. So basically, when I let off the clutch, it just stops. So it's not going to roll off the ramp without me. I'm not going to drop my bike unless I lose my balance. This is the ideal way to do it. And of course, I used this very same technique before when I had 2 legs. It's just it's a smart way to do it. Keeps things from getting out of control. And I really can't afford to take even the smallest tumble nowadays, just because I'm getting to the point where I break things when I fall down. So And here's my first opportunity to throw a leg over since the last time I sat on this bike over a year ago.
Right. Yep, I'm on here. It's cramped. We're gonna figure out something to do with his leg. Maybe this whole time he was conniving, manipulating me to sell me his motorcycle. So he invited me on the TAC to ride his motorcycle. It's a very long, extended, test ride. He got me, man. He totally got me.
And of course, it came time to crank this thing up to see if it would actually run. And it'd been over a year since the last time I rode this thing. And all Richard has done since then was wash it, oil the chain, and charge the battery. And since I could sling my leg over the rear of the bike like most people mount their bikes, I wanted to see if I could sling it straight across like I have to do if there's a bag on the back seat. And of course it was a whole lot easier than I remembered. And I also noticed that it's got an aftermarket seat, which explains why the seat was so comfortable the last time I rode it. Rode it across the TAT, and everybody was complaining about the stock seat. I thought it had the stock seat, but it's got a seat concept seat on there, which explains a lot. Yeah, I was very cautious riding around the yard the first loop, and I have not even put my foot on the peg yet, so I'm just kind of easing around the yard just to kind of get a feel for it. And then I bumped the leg a couple of times on the ground, which is kind of shocking. So at this point, I just decided to see if I could get my foot up on the peg.
Barely on there.
And of course, the second loop was much better than the first. I was able to move my leg around, get it into a position where I could actually feel a little bit more comfortable. Of course, I can't use the rear brake. I didn't even try. But I'm also banging the side of the engine case with my socket, the carbon fiber on the socket. It's a lot thicker now than it will probably be in the future, but right now it's kind of like wearing a small garbage can on your leg. And but I was shocked at how comfortable it was riding it in this position. Still tight on my leg, but comfortable. It really doesn't feel that bad. Very comfortable. And of course, another final loop, and then a little bit of an impression. I'm almost out of gas here, so and I'm gonna have to get a tag for it before I get it out on the street. Hopefully, maybe I'll make a quick run down to the gas station before I'm legal. I don't know if you can see the depth of this smile, but it's pretty freaking deep. Pretty freaking deep. Let's start first. Ooh. Gotta relearn this motorcycle. Got to relearn it. I may still have to raise the bars. Half inch. I gotta go with some gas. I'm almost out. If you didn't notice my grin, my ear-to-ear grin, or hear me talking about it, that's exactly what I've got. I can't wait to get on this thing. It's going to take me a little bit of while to get the thing registered, to get some mods done so I can safely ride it, but I can't wait. Can't wait to get back on the road, get back out in the woods, and it's a little bit scary, but I'm so excited, and I'm glad you're coming along.
I'm the motor giant, riding state by state. The road is my home, it's never too late. Just me and my bike, feeling alive. Catch me on YouTube for the ride of your life.